Hello ladies and gentlemen, GamingMedley here, and today I have another round of Destiny content for you. This is because the Taken King is going to be coming out either tomorrow or today, depending on when I decide to upload this. Probably today. And we're just pushing out Destiny content in pseudo-celebration of that. So today's video is about whether Peter Dinklage or Nolan North make the better voice actor for Ghost, your in-game AI companion. So far I've already done the Everything You Need to Know About Destiny the Taken King expansion pack video where I covered everything you need to know before you go into the expansion pack, or everything you'll want to know before purchasing the expansion pack or just the game. And I also did a video regarding the controversy between the Activision/Bungie cross-promotional deal with Red Bull for Destiny, the game. So today, I just thought I would talk about fans' opinions on the Peter Dinklage or Nolan North voice acting, because there have been some interesting polls that have been done, my opinion on it, and just the history of how it's all gone down and some news about it. So for those of you who don't know, in June of 2015, when Red Bull accidentally leaked the Taken King expansion before Bungie did, oops, that's a faux pas, we got some more info, namely that Nolan North would be voicing Ghost, your AI companion, instead of Peter Dinklage, who had done it so far up until the Taken King expansion. We also got the news that all Ghost voice acting from the very beginning of when you start out up through the 2 expansions that had already been released to the end of the Taken King expansion, which is being released right now, would be completely reworked. So you would no longer be able to hear Dinklebot's sultry tones anywhere at all in the entire game. Now, a lot of fans had kind of differing opinions on this. Some people really liked Dinklebot, as the Destiny community has taken to calling Peter Dinklage's version of the AI Ghost. Some people really liked it. Some people thought that it sounded just dispassionate enough to convey an AI who probably was still developing feelings and developing how they were going to deal with the whole fact that they had to lead this Guardian around and narrate everything through the game, and a lot of people really liked it. They thought that he sounded exactly as his character should. They liked the darker tone that he seemed to bring to the game. Other people, on the other hand, redundancies, thought that he wasn't very good. They thought that he sounded too dispassionate. They thought that it just sounded like a phoned-in performance. They were probably expecting more passion, more variety in his tones. Personally, I like Dinklebot a lot. I thought he did a great job. It was what I wanted my AI companion to sound like, you know, sarcastic, dark. He had an edge to him, a little bit of personality where you didn't quite know what was going on with him, but you could see that he did have like a real personality and real feelings under that little mechanical shell, so I personally thought it was great. Anyways, in June of this year, the news came out that Nolan North would be taking over the voice acting for Ghost, and this was initially met with a lot of celebration. And for good reason too. I mean, Nolan North is like the greatest name in video game voice acting right now for male voice actors. Now, there are some other notable male voice actors. Troy Baker, for example, is just one I can come up with off the top of my head. He voiced Booker DeWitt. But Nolan North has voiced Nathan Drake throughout the Uncharted games, as well as a variety of other iconic video game characters, such as the Penguin from Batman Arkham Origins. He was the voice for the male player character in Guild Wars 2. He's done a lot of stuff. He's been in tons of games. He voiced for Infinite Crisis, he voiced for Dying Light, he voiced for Saints Row Out of Hell, he voiced for Borderlands, Little Big Planet, World of Warcraft, Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor. He has voiced a lot of characters, and he also has a really great range, so it's no surprise. As such, because a voice actor with so many accolades and such talent was being brought in to voice Ghost, which a lot of people had felt kind of iffish about before, it was met with a lot of celebration by the Destiny community. People were like, this will be great. Ghost will finally have more personality, he'll finally have like more variation in how his voice sounds, it'll be awesome. Well, recently Polygon released a video that I'm going to link in the description of several Nolandroid lines versus several Dinklebot lines, and the response that the community gave was very interesting. In every poll I have found, which I will also link in the description for you guys, but in every poll I have found regarding Dinklebot versus Nolandroid as Ghost so far, people have far preferred Dinklebot. People like Peter Dinklage a lot more than Nolan North as Ghost. This was an outcome that not many people were expecting. Now, of course, a lot of people do like Nolan North. They like the fact that, oh, I can finally like hear the emotions. But the main problem people seem to have with it is that Nolan North just kind of sounds like a ripoff C-3PO, if that makes any sense. He sounds really cheeky, really cheerful, kind of sarcastic, and just very light and airy overall. And people have been feeling like that doesn't quite fit the tone of the game as much as Peter Dinklage's more somber, darkly sarcastic and macabre voice acting that he did for the character. I personally agree. I think the Dinklebot is far superior to Nolandroid. Of course, there are a lot of reasons to remove Peter Dinklage. One, the fan response was very mixed to the voice acting, and two, the most important one, Peter Dinklage probably costs a lot. He has a net worth of over 10 million, I think was the last calculation according to Forbes. I'm going off the top of my head, so don't quote that, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. He's a highly paid A-list actor now. I mean, his role as Tyrion in Game of Thrones has really just brought him to the forefront of the acting world, and he's a fantastic actor, don't get me wrong. I love the guy to death. I love both him in real life and him acting. So it probably costs quite a bit of money for Activision Bungie to let him record lines. People had some criticisms in the recordings that it sounded like he recorded in two different studio spaces, and sometimes you could tell very easily that he hadn't been recording in the same place for all of his lines. Apparently it was caused due to flights that he was taking for various roles and stuff, which, I mean, you can't help it. But Bungie and Activision also mentioned that they had a pretty hard time just nailing down a concrete schedule that they could work with Peter Dinklage for the voice acting on. He's a very busy man, obviously. He's doing a lot of stuff right now. So they had some trouble doing scheduling with him for the lines. The lines having a mixed reception, as I said, probably didn't help either. So it makes sense that they probably would have looked for a cheaper and different alternative. However, it seems like it didn't quite turn out as well as it could have. I think the main problem that I and most people have with it is, other than the fact that it just sounds like a C-3PO ripoff, I don't think they did the synthesization of his voice very well. I think they could have made it sound a little more robotic. It sounds like it has kind of like a bad synthesized filter over it right now. You can watch the video to see what I'm talking about. Personally, I think Peter Dinklage's, he has a more naturally robotic tone to his voice, but Nolan North has played orcs, like he played Darkhand in Shadow of Mordor, so we know that he can get that kind of voice that doesn't sound like his natural voice. And it's not like this ghost version he's voice acting sounds that much like his normal voice either. But I think that they did a bad job of making it sufficiently robotic. A lot of people have said that it doesn't sound as artificial as it should, considering that he is an AI and he's really in this like little tiny metallic shell. You would think that that would also have some issues concerning like the reverb of his voice or something. Regardless, that's one reason that a lot of people have said is why they prefer Dinklebot over Nolandroid. The other reason is because it sounds very hard like he's trying to counteract everything that Peter Dinklage did in his performance of Ghost. It's kind of funny. If you listen to it, it sounds very much like he's just trying to kind of do the opposite of what Peter Dinklage did with like a bunch of the lines. Like he's taking the pauses in completely different places in the opposite place than Peter Dinklage has done. If you watch the video, you'll understand what I'm talking about. He takes the pauses in different places. He puts emphasis on like the opposite word and sentences. I don't know if this is because he looked online and saw all of the negative response that people had given to Peter Dinklage's version of Ghost and he thought they just wanted the exact opposite. But for me, it like really doesn't work. Like, I think there are a few lines. One line that really stood out to me was the line, "Its power is dark." When Dinklebot says it, it just sounds like its power is dark. Like it just sounds like very matter of fact, like something that he's unsure about but also slightly fearful of. Nolandroid is like, its power is dark. And it sounds kind of like unnatural and really forced. That's a wincy line, admittedly. Like that's about as cliche cheesy as lines for video games can get, like, its power is dark. Like that's a badly written line and Destiny doesn't typically have that great of writing. Like don't get me wrong, the writing is hard to pull off. Like, that's a hard role to voice act well. It's obvious that, you know, people have criticized the writing of Ghost throughout all of the expansions, and hopefully it's gotten better in The Taken King because the writers have been looking at the feedback they've been getting, but Ghost hasn't been the most well-written character historically, so it's not necessarily surprising that some of the lines come off as really forced because the lines just sound forced when you read them, but Peter Dinklage, in my opinion, made the lines sound a lot better than Nolan North did. So in my personal opinion, Dinklebot is far superior to Nolandroid. Now, part of that could just be nostalgia. A lot of people have said I'll probably love Nolandroid when I hear him over the course of more expansions in Destiny 2 if they decide to keep him as Ghost. But Dinklebot is so stuck in people's head right now that hearing such a light voice from the character, it really tweaks with your brain a little bit, because Peter Dinklage has like a very low, like somber, like its power is dark. Like his voice is very low and intense, and Nolan North's more like, its power is dark. When you're so used to hearing such a low, somber voice, it's very jarring to suddenly hear this like chirpy little like, hey guys, my name's Ghost, and I'm coming to bring you on a magical adventure with me through Disneyland. Like that's very jarring. So it might just take people some time to get used to. People might really like it after they get more accustomed to it, but for now I think it's safe to say that most people would have rather had Peter Dinklage, including me. So that's pretty much where I'm going to stop with this video. I'll link the video Polygon made showcasing both voices side by side in the description. I'll link the polls I found. I will link the articles I found on the subject that I used to make this video, so you can have all my sources and you can see what I'm talking about and you can watch the video if you want to do it, yada 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 yada. But that's pretty much it. I think the general consensus right now is we want Dinklebot back. It doesn't matter if his voice is being recorded in 2 studios, damn it. We want Dinklebot. I want Dinklebot. I don't mean to force my opinion on you guys, but my opinion is the right one. Every time I have an opinion, it is correct. So you should let me force it onto you. Shh. Shh. Just breathe in and out and say it with me. Dinklebot. Yes. Alright guys, feel free to leave a like, a dislike, if you think this video deserves one, which you probably do just thanks to those last few minutes. A share, a sub, a comment, a favorite, whatever you feel like this video deserves, please feel free to leave it. I would also appreciate comments saying whether or not you like Dinklebot or Nolandroid better. Which one do you prefer and why? Until next time guys, thank you all so much for watching. Medley, out.